Hey guys, just here to talk a little bit today about what harm is. For harm is just okay. That's weird. Harm is just like when you cause property damage. Sorry, I don't know what that is. Property damage, or you punch somebody in the face, that kind of thing. Okay. Turn off the video. Don't listen to this. This is I don't know what's going on here. This is not. Hello, hello. Excuse me. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. Turn down the music a little bit here. Hello, Kurt here from Addressasaurus. Hope you're having a good day so far. Um, yeah, I apologize. This is kind of my first actual video, I guess, in terms of higher production quality. Got better mics and camera and things like that. Yeah, so I guess if we have any major issues, I'm gonna be kind of learning this in real time. I don't really have any time for a lot of editing, things like that. So if there's any problems with that, thanks capitalism. So yeah, I really don't have time to be going back and cutting and editing a bunch of videos, and so we'll do the best we can, but it's gonna be a learning experience here. And if any corniness or bad acting or things like that pop up here, I guess we're gonna kind of deal with it. It might not go well, but unfortunately, I don't have the luxury to spend a lot of time messing with those things, and so I'll be learning with you guys here. And the biggest thing for me is I really want to share some of this information. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work on this, what I believe and what I think is important, and so we're gonna get into some of that today. All right, not cutting that; it's gonna stay. So, today we are talking about what's called the axis of harm. And so, in the video, I kind of, I guess, started the video with a little bit of humor around there are some things I think there's some misconceptions about what harm is, who can cause harm, things like that. And so here to Addressasaurus, we came up with the axis of harm is what I'm calling it, and it's basically like a kind of quadrants, kind of split, to kind of talk about this here. So what you need to know for this, well, before we get into it, what do you guys think? Well, maybe you guys think for a second before we get into the actual video here. If you were to talk about what is harm, how would you classify that? What types of harm are there? How do you know if you've committed harm? I guess what else can we think about here? Yeah, things like that. Why don't you go ahead and take a minute or two and kind of see how that goes. All right, so yeah, so it's a big topic. It's okay if you're not quite sure here. Again, this is new for me as well. We'll see how this goes, but here's the graphic. Here's what we made for the axis of harm. Okay, you may have heard the phrase that impact is more important than intent. And the reason why people say that is that there seems to be this misconception in the public, or especially in, I would say, white supremacy in American culture, other things too, where people kind of think they're off the hook from causing harm if they didn't intend to. But the problem with that is that there's definitely people who use racist language, even if they didn't mean to. It's still racist. It's a microaggression and things like that. Car accidents, right? No one intends to get in a car accident for the most part. And so you don't get to say, oh, it was an accident. They're like, oh, yeah, well, see you later. That's kind of still, you're still responsible for that harm that may have been caused. And so we really talk about, it's too broad and too low of a bar to say that you have to intend to hurt somebody. Because when you think about it, like, very few people think that they're like, I'm a bad person, I'm going to commit harm. And often it's going to be a issue in how people perceive themselves, perceive the situation, what they're trying to do. What are their needs? What are the other person's needs? Is that reasonable? How healthy are they? How emotionally mature are they? How aware are they of their surroundings? How generous? How kind? Things like that. There are certain values that are just like people have that conflict with other values that like people may think is harmful. Certain religious values that people think like, well, if you impose those on me, I don't agree to follow those. If you impose them on me, that's harmful. And people who have those beliefs don't think so. And so that's where we have to really think about like what it means to cause harm. And so what we did here is we kind of we broke it up into like kind of some quadrants here. So on the right side, make sure I have my thing here. Yeah, the right side over here, we have intentional. There's intentional harm. On the left side, we have unintentional harm. And at the top, we have necessary harm. And the bottom, we have unnecessary harm. And so you can have intentional necessary harm. You could have unintentional unnecessary harm. Things like that. And so you can look, and there are some words there. There's some word art with that and stuff. We're gonna go from like worst to like best type of harm. I mean, there's not really a best type of harm, but maybe like the least harmful. So most harmful to least harmful. And the most harmful is going to be intentional unnecessary harm. And so in the lower right hand quadrant there, you're going to have things like abuse, control, manipulation, kind of really like, I mean, I would say that, there are people who do this. And I would say sometimes even like things like abuse and neglect and things like that, and there neglect's in the other quadrant, but abuse and control and things like that. I think that you can do those things even if you're not being intentional. But I'm saying like in terms of this quadrant here, there definitely can be abuse on the left side there too that's unintentional. But that's still stuff we gotta be really careful about, because just because we didn't intend to like, we don't get to abuse somebody, we don't get to control somebody, even if we didn't intend to. And so, but the worst type of harm we would have would be intentional unnecessary, which would be in the lower right kind of quadrant there. Going clockwise, the next kind of worst type of a little bit better, second worst type of harm would be unintentional unnecessary. So that's where things like neglect, opportunity cost, things like that, complacency. These are things when we kind of just like opt out. So neglect for parenting comes from opting out of our responsibilities. Opportunity cost, and being a human being, we have responsibilities to our fellow humans. Some people may not think so, and that we're pretty. Well, I think, and unfortunately, I think one of our biggest problems here we have is that people are very individualistic, hyper individualistic, toxically individualistic, where it's like, I got mine, why do I care what you have? And there's a lot of big problems with that, which we can get into in other videos here. But yeah, these are kind of more unintentional, but they still have an effect, right? We can cause harm if we didn't mean to. Those could be things like, I think microaggressions, things like that, being racist, being misogynistic, excluding people, things like that. I think even like unintentional bullying. I think bullying and stuff would be in the lower right one there as well. Just FYI. So I think that bullying and things like that and kind of casting people out is pretty bad. So harm can also be unintentional and unnecessary. And sorry, I should mention like necessary and unnecessary. Unnecessary never needs to exist. Like, there's no reason for those things to exist. Necessary, that might be like, there's sometimes there is necessary harm, right? Doctors, when they're like, popping, if you have like a dislocated shoulder, they pop it back in place, it's gonna hurt, and that's harmful. Causes harm, it causes pain, but it's like fixing it, right? If I push someone out of the street because they're gonna get hit by a car, that's an act that's gonna, maybe they would scrape their knee on the sidewalk or the pavement, but at least they're not gonna get hit by a car, and that would be what I mean by necessary. In the top left, we have what's called necessary unintentional harm, and so those could be things like being weird, being your authentic self. Let's see, being in conflict with people. Let me move this out of the way a little bit here. Oh, here's another awkward cut for trying to be able to read here. Let's see how this goes. Let's see here. Upsetting people. So sometimes just like kind of living our values and being who we are. What else we got? Yeah, I mean, like, I guess, like, what does it say? Sorry. How we have to survive, things we have to do to kind of get by that are not, we cause harm every day in how we live. We may not like to. There's for example, like supporting different businesses, or I would say a lot of businesses or ways we live that are like that cause harm to people. Even if we don't like want to, it's like we can't really opt out. Things like that. Being in conflict with people. Sometimes it's like we don't want to be in conflict with people, but we have to like do the right thing, and that's going to upset people. Things like that. And being weird. Being weird and being out different. That's not really a harm, but like it can be viewed as a I don't know. It just seems to upset people and cause. I don't know why that one's on there actually, but being weird. It's not harmful, but people may perceive it as harm. And I guess maybe that's what I was kind of trying to get at with that one, is that I've been in lots of situations where I don't really think I was just being my authentic self and, being different, and doing what I like. And it's just perceived as like, we don't do that here. It's kind of weird. So, being weird is not harmful, but, facing harm, I guess things would be like that too. So, yeah. And the last one we have would be intentional and necessary harm. And that's going to be things like upsetting the status quo. It's going to be, what else we got here? Upholding boundaries, protecting others, questioning harmful beliefs, pushing back on like systems and things like that. And that is necessary type of, that's going to cause like, I don't, when you live in such a pretty dysfunctional, harmful society as is, anything you do is going to change that's going to cause some discomfort and things. We are not entitled to comfort, especially as white people like me. There unfortunately is a lot of comfort and a lot of like privilege and entitlement in unfortunately, for there to be a hierarchy of oppression, there has to be people at the top and people at the bottom. And when we upset that status quo, the people who have that privilege and things are not going to be happy about it, and they're going to be harmed, which means, doesn't mean, not really, but it's going to feel like that to them. Egalitarian principles are, it's better for everybody, but they kind of seem to perceive it as, you're taking things away from me, I guess. Also, there are better ways to do things. There are things that are really frustrating to me, especially, is having to do things very inefficiently and very, like, I ask them, well, why are we doing something this way? And people just say, well, we've always done it that way. And it's like, well, that's stupid. So why are we doing this? We're wasting hours and hours. You know what I mean? Just like how we live and interact at work or at school. Learning things we don't care about. Being forced to do labor we don't care about. Spending most of our life away from our homes and our families to make money to sustain ourselves and our families is kind of a silly way to live, and there are better ways to do things. But we're never really going to get to that point unless we kind of push and cause that intentional, necessary harm of getting people to think about things, and also upholding boundaries. People think that boundaries are, you can't, saying no. People don't like to hear that, and also they may let them down, or you may they might be relying on you. You need I can't help right now. I need to step back, and that puts them in an awkward spot. But that's something they're going to have to deal with, and it's a hard and interesting thing. Yeah, and so that last one is really important to do. Conformity is unfortunately very dangerous, much more dangerous than we think, and I don't think that we're gonna get better if we don't kind of think about these things and make make things better. And the way we do that is by questioning, upholding boundaries, asking like, wow, how can we make things better? Who's suffering the most in this situation? Who's being exploited? Who's not? And doing that work. And it's not easy, but it's important. And so kind of a little bit of a expanding of impact over intent, the different types of harm there. So again, we had intentional unnecessary harm, we had unintentional unnecessary harm, we had unintentional necessary harm, and then we had intentional necessary harm. So I hope you guys have learned something here, and thanks for being kind on my first videos here. I've done a lot of work to get ready here, but it's gonna be a process, and again, I'm not doing much cutting. I'm gonna try to make it kind of like a live show and just kind of go, and there could be some goofs in here, but it's gonna be it's gonna be what it is, and that's all I can really offer. So please feel free to like and subscribe. I would like to eventually do some like live debates with people and stuff and talk about some things. Thanks for supporting and all those things. Actually, no, don't like and support this. I've been meaning to do it as a bit too with the video there too. Like, don't watch any of this stuff. You don't want to learn any of these things. This is not good. It's bad. It'll get you in trouble. So to think about things. So don't do it. I'm gonna try and incorporate some of that into my. That's kind of what the first part was about with this. But so thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Have a good night.